Hi, I'm Jim with Stuff Music, and I'm here today to do a demo of the Marshall SC20H. The Marshall SC20H Studio Classic Head, finished here in the same legendary aesthetics as the iconic JCM 800 2203 it emulates. The SC20H is an all-tube, single-channel, 20-watt guitar amp head that features a complement of 3 12AX7 preamp tubes, 2 EL34 power tubes, and a power reduction circuit that can drop the amp down to 5 watts. On the front panel of the amp, you will find the power switch, 3-way power reduction switch that can function in high mode, which is the full 20 watts, low mode, which is 5 watts, or in the middle position, which is standby mode. Next, you will find controls for presence, a 3-band EQ featuring controls for bass, middle, and treble, and the master volume control, and the preamp volume control. Last up on the front panel, there are 2 1/4-inch instrument inputs, one for high sensitivity and one for low sensitivity. On the back panel of the amp, we'll find some updated features. First, we'll find a single 16-ohm speaker out, followed by outs for a single 8 or dual 16-ohm speakers, and then a pair of outputs for either a single 4 or dual 8-ohm speakers. Next up, we have the DI out, great for recording or going straight out to the PA. Finally, there are the send and return jacks for the effects loop and a push button that allows you to take the effects loop out of the circuit. Lastly, the Marshall SC20H Studio Classic Head, which also comes in a combo amp format, weighs in at 21 pounds. Get yours today at instuffmusic.com. Okay, now we're back after the specs. Let's give a listen to this amp. First with this gold top, then I'm going to play a little bit on the Strat, and then I'm going to play a little bit on the Schecter, just to give you kind of a range of what different types of guitars sound like through this head. You can see how I had the amp set up in the beginning, and I'm running out through the aux. We'll have the description of how we have that set up, so if you're curious about that, you can see what kind of cab model we're using. And let's give it a listen. First on the bridge, I'm gonna run through some tones. Here we go. So of course this is a mini version of the JCM 800, and that is kind of the sound that defined heavy metal in the 80s. You know, Kerry King, Zakk Wylde, a lot of guys use these amps, and this is where Marshall, you know, the sound of that preamp gain thing that this amp does is really what it's known for. Let's take the preamp gain back a bit, and I'm going to bring out those mids a little more, kind of do a real mid-rangey thing, and we'll hear it. Let's go back to the bridge. Clean it up a little bit. Okay, next let's bring the preamp back even farther. Bring the master up a little bit and hear what the amp sounds like when we got the preamp down and the volume up. Here we go. let's take some of that high end off there. Let's bring the presence back a little bit and bring the mids back a touch. Let's hear it again, kind of the same. About halfway in the middle on both pickups. Now this amp has an effects loop, which you can defeat with a push button in the back, which I mentioned in the specs. I'm going to put some reverb from a Blue Sky by Strymon into the loop, and let's hear it, kind of with this clean-ish setting. These amps really don't do super, super clean. If I bring the volume back and really bring the preamp down, again, you can kind of get clean-ish. Here it is. Take that reverb back out. Okay, let's switch it over to the Strat. Okay, now we're back with the Strat. Let's give it a listen and let's just kick it off. You can see I have the amp set, kind of back to hard rock territory. Let's listen to it in the bridge. These are real single coils, so I apologize for the hum. Let's kick a little reverb back in there. Got reverb back out. Let's try to darken our sound a little here. It's back to the neck. Middle. Middle on the bridge. Let's bring the preamp gain back a touch. Add a little delay in with the Strymon timeline here in the loop. A little bit of a flanger with the Mobius. Now let's take it over to the Schecter. Okay, now we're back. Let's listen to some really high gain sounds and hear how extreme we can get with this amp. You hear how I have it set. Here we go. So now, you know, the master and the preamp do interact with one another. So if I dime out the preamp and kind of leave the master on about 7, I'm right here. If I dime them both out, I'm right here. Okay, now we're back on the Paul here. Finally, what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the 5-watt function. So as you can see, and I said this on the specs, when the switch is on high, we're at 20 watts. In the middle, we're on standby. And at at low, we're at 5 watts. So here you go. So you can just kind of A-B it real quick. Here is the full 20. Here's 5. So what's nice about this amp is, of course, the original JCM 800 was a 100-watt monster. You know, to get these kind of sounds out of a 100-watt amp in a live setting in 2019 it's not going to happen. It's not realistic unless you're playing in a very, very large space. So even at 20 watts, you know, when you dime this guy out, it's kicking. It's kicking in the room. And of course, I'm running through the aux, but I have a little cab here for monitoring. And when we were setting up, you know, I had it running at full power, and it can hang with a drummer, no problem at 20 watts. But at 5, it's really nice. You can use it at home in a practice environment. It's great for recording, and it doesn't get real spongy and squishy when you bring it down to 5 watts. So this is a great, adaptation of the JCM 800. It kind of brings in a lot of modern functionality and really useful in the modern guitar world. So that is the little JCM 800, the SC20H from Marshall.